I was just 12 years old when I vanished without a trace. My name is Emily Saunders, and I lived in a small, sleepy town where nothing ever happened. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. It was a chilly autumn afternoon. The leaves had turned golden and crimson, and the air was crisp. School had just let out, and I decided to take the long way home through the woods, a path I had taken countless times. The trees were towering sentinels, their branches intertwining to form a canopy that filtered the sunlight into a dappled mosaic on the forest floor. As I walked, I hummed a tune, kicking up leaves with my worn sneakers. It was peaceful, almost enchanting, but there was an eerie stillness that day, an unusual silence that seemed to swallow the sound of my footsteps. I shrugged off the unease, attributing it to my overactive imagination. Halfway through the woods, I noticed something out of place. A black van, hidden partially behind a thick cluster of trees. Its presence was jarring, like a blot of ink on a pristine page. I hesitated, my instincts screaming at me to turn back, but curiosity got the better of me. I crept closer, my heart pounding in my chest. The van's back doors were slightly ajar. I peered inside and saw a dimly lit interior, cluttered with strange equipment and a faint smell of chemicals. Suddenly, a hand clamped over my mouth, and everything went dark. When I woke up, I was lying on a cold, hard surface. My wrists were bound, and a musty cloth was tied around my mouth. Panic surged through me, and I struggled against the restraints, but it was no use. I was trapped. I forced myself to calm down and take in my surroundings. I was in a small, dimly lit room. The walls were concrete, and there was a single flickering light bulb hanging from the ceiling. There were no windows, just a heavy metal door with a small, barred window near the top. I heard footsteps approaching, and my heart raced. The door creaked open, and a tall, shadowy figure entered the room. He wore a mask obscuring his features. His voice was cold and devoid of emotion. "Welcome, Emily," he said, his tone sending chills down my spine. "You've been chosen for a very all-purpose." I didn't respond, fear rendering me mute. He stepped closer, and I could see his eyes behind the mask, dark, calculating, and filled with malice. Days turned into a blur of darkness and fear. He would come and go, bringing me food and water, but never answering my questions or revealing his intentions. The isolation was maddening, and I clung to the hope that someone would find me. Then, one night, I heard a noise outside the door. It was faint, but unmistakable, the sound of keys jangling. My captor had become careless. As he opened the door, I saw my chance. I mustered all my strength and kicked him in the knee. He stumbled, and I bolted for the door. I ran blindly through a labyrinth of hallways, adrenaline fueling my every step. I could hear him shouting behind me, but I didn't stop. I burst through a door and found myself outside. The night was dark, the moon hidden behind thick clouds. I had no idea where I was, but I kept running, my lungs burning and my legs aching. Eventually, I stumbled upon a small cabin. The windows were dark, but I pounded on the door, hoping against hope that someone would be there. A light flickered on inside, and the door opened to reveal an elderly man. He took one look at my disheveled state and pulled me inside. "Are you all right, child?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. "Please help me, he's coming." The old man nodded and quickly locked the door. He led me to a hidden basement, and we waited in tense silence. We could hear footsteps outside, but after a while they faded away. The police arrived soon after, and I was taken to safety. My captor was never found, and the mystery of his motives remained unsolved. But I was free, and that was all that mattered. Years have passed since that terrifying ordeal. I'm no longer the scared, naive girl who walked through those woods. I've learned to be strong, to trust my instincts. The scars from that experience will always be a part of me, but they no longer define me. I often wonder why I was taken, what special purpose he had in mind for me. But some questions are better left unanswered. I survived, and that is enough.